Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us for the PHNX Suns pregame show, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'm Lindsay Smith. That's Salt Bookman. That's Espo. And tonight, the Suns will face off against the Atlanta Hawks for the first time this season.
I'm Saul.
I was going to say Gerald Bourguet. I'm so used to having all three of you now that I would like, oh, wait, Gerald's not here. He's at the Footprint Center.
That's the first time you've ever been confused for Gerald Bourguet.
Oh, I could promise you that.
Probably the last.
Except for on Twitter with our cartoon heads. That happens all the time.
Really?
Yeah. That's like a thing. Everyone's like, when we were doing the polls last summer, when we would do like the drafts and stuff, everyone's like, I'm going to need you to put names under these heads because I definitely thought Saul was Gerald and Gerald was Saul. Or when it was just the three of us.
Why does that
we
matter?
Never knew which one it was.
See? You just want to vote for Gerald. You don't want to vote for what is right.
Or they want to know who to give shit to because it was a garbage list. One
Again.
of the two.
Well, then,
Gerald.
again, Gerald. Yeah, I mean, it is. Catching strays when you're not here, buddy.
All right. As I said, it's the Hawks and the Suns tonight. First time this season. It seems like I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen the Hawks yet so far.
Yeah. We got a couple of teams that we haven't seen yet this year that we're going to see a lot in the second half of the season. OKC.
Well, that was the weird thing because like you ran through the Warriors game super early.
Portland too.
Yeah, Portland. Like it was a very
Memphis.
bizarrely set up schedule. I mean, even some of you had back-to-back games against the same team kind of thing. So just a weird schedule this year. And, maybe it's not the worst thing to get the Hawks now instead of when they were healthier earlier in the year.
That's true. And also some of these teams in the second half of the year, probably good to get them in the second half of the year because they have no hope. And hope is a good thing when you have it. When it's gone, despair.
It's really hard to find anything to play for when it's that bad. Trust me, we know.
Hope's overrated.
Is it?
Yeah, because you don't have despair. You don't know true despair without that hope. I'd rather be numb, I think.
That's fair. I get you. All right. So
I'm advocating for tanking is what I'm saying.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
You're in
tanking.
agreement with all of the crazy people out there who are still saying the Suns should blow it up?
Yep.
It's like they forgot to watch the last 10 or so games. I don't know. But
apparently somebody new has entered the chat called Espo's Burner and says, Saul, love you, buddy.
God.
Aww.
I'm actually typing it from my phone.
So, yeah, the Hawks and the Suns. This will be an interesting one to watch for sure. Very closely rated game, at least from a betting perspective, right? It seems like these two teams will go toe-to-toe in this one. I think the Suns will win, but for me, one of the biggest keys tonight is going to be the Suns' defensive effort.
1,000,000%. Listen, the Hawks still got some shooters. They still got some really good players. And though they have struggled this season, they can still surprise a team or two. And so you can't take them for granted. You got to come locked in. If you come locked in and you make it really hard for them, you should win this game. But we've seen the Suns struggle, especially with some high-volume three-point shooting teams in the past. And if they don't come ready to go tonight, they can find themselves easily on, either winning by 20 or 2 or losing by 20 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
So
these two teams feel like they have a lot in common. A lot of expectations coming in the year. Injuries have derailed some of that. They're very much in the middle of trade talks due to forwards that they don't really want on their roster anymore. Obviously, John Collins there, Jay Crowder here. So there's been distractions. One team has interest in DeAndre Ayton. You can figure out which one that is out of the two. But yeah, I feel like they're very similar. And I think we're going to have a pretty close game tonight in terms of that. Now, if Book were here, I think it's a totally different story. I think this is an ass whooping for the Suns. But I think this is going to be a pretty close one tonight, and you're going to need a locked-in DA on the boards tonight because this Atlanta team can rebound pretty well. They've got efficient bigs down there, so he needs to be locked in and helping that rebounding.
that's what we call bet foreshadowing.
Well,
for me.
Not for me.
But I do agree with you. I hope DA can be an anchor of the defense tonight when it comes to the Hawks. The Hawks are 9th in the NBA in scoring, and they're averaging 116.2 points per per game. So, and then of course he'll be going head to head with Clint Capella. And then, like you said, the Hawks do have that 2 big man kind of lineup with John Collins out there at the 4.
Yeah. And interesting fact, I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see a DeAndre Ayton big rebound game, even though I don't want it because it helps Saul in his bet.
You literally shit on me when I said I was taking this today.
Yeah, well, I saw something historically, and I'm a believer in weird things happen, that there's connections. On this day, Neil Walk grabbed 23 rebounds back in the 70s, and Amari Stoudemire grabbed 23 rebounds in the mid 2000s. So
you're
I'm
saying
feeling a 23 rebound DA game tonight, because why the hell not? Let's make it a 3-player thing here.
Shoot, I'd be a very happy camper if that one happened. And then of course, you mentioned the 3-point shooting tonight. You got to be careful with guys like DeJounte Murray. He flirted with a triple-double on Monday night against the Blazers. He had 40 points, 7 assists, and 8 rebounds. So this team in DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, they can shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. They're very high-level volume scorers. And if you're not, like I said, if you're not locked in, you will get burned.
Yeah, this is a team that you look at it and you go, how is it not clicked, right? You've got 2-star guards, 2 bigs that you look at and you go, that really good lineup there. I know Bogdanovic had been hurt and other pieces, but you look at it and you go, there's a lot of talent here.
Mm-hmm.
If it clicks on any given night, like you're saying, there could be trouble for any team in the NBA. Especially you're looking at Trae, you're looking at DeJounte. I mean, that's a hell of a backcourt on.
Well, I mean, you could probably say similar potential issues that the Suns have seen this year, both injury issues with both teams, and then you also saw Trae and their head coach kind of go at it in the middle of the season or early on in the season. You got the same thing with DA and Monty. And at the very least, the rumors in and of itself is enough to maybe just make things a little awkward, a little uncomfortable for some people. And maybe that's a factor.
That's the reason why, not all because a team is a super team or they get all this talent doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to play at a very high level. We've seen it a lot of times in the NBA. And Trae and DeJounte together, and maybe you can throw in John Collins if you want to say he's a star or whatever. It just has not gelled, and I know Trae's had some conflicts, because ultimately you need 1 or 2 phenomenal players and then some high level role players to fit the mold. And if you don't have that, it could be trouble unless one of those 3 is just so far superior. That's why the Warriors were so successful, because Clay, Steph, and KD, well, at least between Clay and Steph, it wasn't about me. It's not about me, right? And KD fit into that because since everybody else was sacrificing, he was going to get his no matter what because he's just that damn good. But he was willing to sacrifice just to make sure everything flowed the right way too. So that's why they played at such a high level. With this team, I'm not saying they have anywhere near that talent, but in terms of gelling, sometimes that's when you run into issues because everybody wants to get theirs. They don't want to sacrifice, and that's when you find yourself in losing games.
Coaching too. Nate McMillan has had his ups and downs with this team, and not that they're at the level of this, but even that Kobe Shaq Lakers team being coached before Phil Jackson didn't find success. And sometimes it takes the right coach in there to unlock a group. And there were rumors that Nate McMillan might walk away earlier this year from Atlanta. So, I think that's part of it too. I think there's probably a lot of reasons there, but it's still a team. You look at that roster and you go, yeah, that could scare you if things turn the right way.
Oh, yeah, for sure. MCG Blue says sometimes better fit trumps big talent on teams, right?
1,000,000%.
Right.
We saw that 2 years ago in the finals run. I mean, that was the Suns clicked.
Well, we saw that with this Hawks team when they got to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they didn't have half the talent they have now, just because they were playing really, really well together at a very high level.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the injury report for tonight's game. On the Suns side of things, they are still without Devin Booker, Cam Payne, and Landry Shamet. On the Hawks side of things, Trae Young is probable with right ankle soreness. He did miss their game on Monday against Portland. But we have really good news for you guys. Really good news. So Gerald got information today at Shoot Around that the team is officially listing Devin on a day-to-day or game-to-game basis. So his second reevaluation must have gone pretty well for them to not fully rule him out for an X amount of time. So it's just kind of one of those waiting situations. But then just a little while ago, we got a tweet from Woj that says ESPN sources, Suns star Devin Booker out for 5 weeks with a groin strain, could return as soon as Tuesday versus Brooklyn.
I love the picture that Emma chose. It was like even Book was surprised by this news. Like, really? Ooh.
Well, Devin did also tweet today, rounding third, so maybe that means he's on his way back.
Well, I would hope so, unless he trips while he's coming around third. But yeah, I think we're close. It makes sense. We heard rumblings this week by some that obviously isn't likely to come to fruition now, but next week makes sense. And the way they're playing, if it takes an extra few days to get him back, so be it. I mean, they're playing all right now. They righted the ship. So
they might not play Saturday, by the way. I don't know if you saw what happened today. The Pistons game got canceled because the Pistons couldn't get out of Detroit.
Or out of Dallas.
Or
right?
out of Dallas.
Yeah.
It was Dallas.
That's concerning.
Well, I don't think they're going to be stuck there through Saturday.
Well, but if
conditions still continue, they're not going to send a new team.
Well, what I was going to say was maybe Detroit. I don't know what the NBA is going to do if they just cancel those games. They don't make them up. If they push things back, I don't know how that works.
They'll shift that game to later when it'll fit in. They won't mess with any of the other subsequent games. They'll find a day off that both teams have and go, hey, jam it in there, have fun, guys. So
yeah, put it at the back end of the season, like here's a bonus game.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All those plans that the team put together for the quote unquote fan fest that are always at the final home game of the season. Now you got to move them all.
Yeah, if they're not playing on that Thursday, neither team's playing on that Thursday after the All-Star break, they might throw it in there. And if they were not restarting till that Friday, all sorts of things could happen. So.
All I know is if HeyDot said the weather is crazy here, if you guys live in a place where weather is out of control right now, stay safe. Hopefully things get a little bit easier on you.
Yeah,
and don't try and drive on ice. We saw too many videos of that from Seattle last month.
The only time I've ever gotten in a car accident, it was literally in the winter in Dallas, just north of Dallas. I slid into a canal. Yeah, and almost died.
Did your car in the water?
No, it was a dry canal.
Oh, okay.
And it was like part of a median, so it wasn't like a deep canal like you see here. It was a little bit of a smaller canal. But I was I saw a Walmart and I had a blown tire and I had a spare, so I slammed on the brakes, not thinking that it was ice on the roads, and it was on a curve, and I just right into the canal and busted the whole front of the car. And I was I'd say about 50 feet away from the end of the canal where the bridge met. And if I had to hit that, bye.
Oh, well, thank God we're not in that situation and you are still here with us. But yes, please be safe, everybody. I'm so thankful that I live in Phoenix when it comes to that. To be honest with you, I would be terrible in that situation.
I'm never moving.
Espo, what are the guys wearing tonight?
Ooh, they're wearing the beautiful statement editions. I actually really like this jersey matchup. The black Valley-esque statement jersey versus the red and yellow icon edition of Atlanta. I'm so glad the Hawks are back to this more traditional color palette for them. I like this one a lot.
We know how you feel about traditional colors.
This is true.
We learned that early on in this season.
Yes, you did.
I don't hate this colorway, though. This matchup, the black and the burgundy-ish red kind of color, it looks good.
Yeah.
All right. Who you guys got tonight and by how much?
I got the Suns by 2.
Okay.
I don't know why I said that like I was surprised, like I didn't make that pick.
I'm surprised.
But I did make that pick, yes.
We should just one day let Emma make all the picks. So when we get to this, we are surprised. I have the Suns by 3. I think this is a very close game. Comes down to the wire.
I also have the Suns by 3, and then Gerald has the Suns by 1. So we are all in agreement that the Suns will win, but it will be a close game, which I do enjoy close games for the most part because it's better basketball usually than a blowout win. But I will say they're much more difficult to kind of put together a post-game show for.
Poor Emma runs around like somebody with their hair on fire. So
it's tough out here when it's a close game, but they are far more fun to watch. That's for sure.
That's why we pay them the small bucks, though. It's all that stress.
Oh, bless her heart. What do our friends at the DraftKings Sportsbook app think about tonight's game, SFO?
They agree with us. They went, at 1 point favorite for the Suns tonight. So.
It's been moving all over the place.
What have you seen so far? I saw it at 1.5.
Yeah, I saw it at 1.5 too. Now it's 1. I think yesterday it was close to a 2. So I don't know.
Yeah. Manuel said, please don't let this game come down to the clutch. I will say, I agree. But I'm proud of the way the Suns have gotten better. They have progressed this year as far as their play in crunch time.
Because they got Mikal.
Yeah, I was going to say, look, let me just say, when you have Mikal Bridges and Chris Paul, everything's all right.
I said that earlier this week. You can't steal my shit.
I can't.
And I will say this. I think, listen, I know everybody's been really, really hard on DA, and I just really hope that he can find whatever joy is missing from the game, because it shouldn't take somebody getting in his face for him to feel like, into the game and feel pumped up like he said the other night. So I'm going to say that DA is going to have a big game. And not only that, if the game is close, I'm going to say DA is going to have a game winner.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
And half the fans will be upset by it and the other half will be joyful.
You should have dunked it, even though it was a 3-point shot.
Are you going to be like that lady on Netflix? It's like, does this bring you joy, DA?
Yeah.
Should we
Spark
keep it
joy.
or get rid of it? Should we spark some joy?
Marie Kondo.
Yeah, thank you.
Everything can bring joy. I mean, let's be honest. All right, what are our picks of the game?
Let's go.
I'm excited for this one.
Daddy's got to come home today, baby. Let's go. Suns by, it says 1.5, which is true. And then I have a DA double. Well, because when I picked it, I picked the.
Because the favorite was different when you just read it, Espo. Is that what you're talking about?
No, because the money line was at 1.5 when I picked it, but right now it's -1.
Right.
So if I'd done this pick right now, it'd be -1. I wouldn't have gone up to the 1.5. So, but a DA double. Hawks over 105.5 points, because I do think they're going to score a lot of points tonight. And John Collins, since he loves Phoenix so much, with a double as well.
Okay.
He's trying out for his new team. I see how it is.
See, when you first sent this, I thought I read it as under 105.5 total points, and I was like, "Dang, Saul, that's a stretch." This makes a lot more sense now that I've actually seen it correctly.
How the hell am I the conservative one today?
I know, it's surprising, right?
I'm taking Chris Paul over 0.5 blocks.
Okay.
At plus 220.
See,
that's not a bad bet.
This is the thing, though. It's like, I don't know what they're considering a block necessarily, because there's been like the couple blocks that he had the other night. To me, those were steals.
Right.
Yeah, but that's the hometown scorer.
I know, and I think that's bullshit.
That's what I like.
I'm going to fight this.
That's why this is a smart bet by Espo. Not bad. I went a little bit more extra tonight than I normally do. I have a plus 600 parlay. So I got the Suns money line, Mikal 20 or more points, DA 10 or more rebounds, and CP3 10 or more assists. So I figured you guys have been going big lately, and I've been playing the conservative game, which I don't think I'm going to step away from, to be completely honest. But tonight I could get a little crazy with it. Why not?
Hello said, whoa, Lindsay getting crazy with a plus bet.
Look.
Listen, the DA under on blocks used to be a plus bet. Okay, it did.
I'm just going to say this. I feel a night where I lose again and somehow you both win, even though you picked the crazy bets. And this is a punishment thing. Although it is a new month, so maybe this is my month.
That is true. It is a brand new month,
It's also Black History Month. I feel good.
All right, what does the leaderboard look
Saul?
Because it's Black Celebration night at the arena.
Is true.
Is it tonight?
Oh, yeah. You didn't think I knew that, did you?
You know what's awkward? Dwayne Washington Jr. was on.
I know he was on the advertisement.
Oops.
Well, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We'll talk about D-Wash here in just a second. But what does the leaderboard look like, Emma? All right. I mean, I feel like I feel pretty cute in this leaderboard.
I thought it was at 1750. So I was like, oh, okay, if I lose, I'm still in the green because I really want to stay green.
That's a bummer.
Damn it.
If I lose, I think my my cartoon head's going to be puking at the end of the night.
It's just green.
This is looking pretty good. If you guys like the bets that we placed on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, or if you think you can do better than us, definitely download it.
I did.
And right now, for a limited time, all new and existing customers can get a no sweat same game parlay every day. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app today, opt in, and place the same game parlay on any NBA game. And if it doesn't hit, you'll get a free bet back. So that's a really cool promotion from DraftKings for all new and existing customers that you guys should take advantage of.
I took advantage of that today, by the way.
Did you?
Yeah, because
Nice.
I did do this parlay myself, and I opted in. And I was like, okay, well, you can't lose.
Yeah,
I got
no
big,
sweat.
big breaking news.
I have another thing to read real quick
Okay,
before
go
you get
ahead
to your
and
breaking
read it.
news. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code PHNX when you sign up because new customers who use that code can bet $5 on the NBA and get 200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHNX. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void in Ohio. See show notes for details. What's the breaking news?
Congratulations to friend of the show, Sophie Cunningham, who re-signed with the Mercury for 2 years.
Nice.
Nothing big. I just wanted to freak out the chat. So.
Is she a friend of the show?
She was on the show.
Was she?
Yeah, in year one during the summer when we did the Mercury stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that
You
at
don't
all.
remember that?
Nope.
Well, Saul,
I remember Brianna Turner.
So not a friend of the program anymore.
I did not,
He
I
does
didn't-
not remember the
I didn't
program.
remember.
all right. Well, a move has been made. We alluded to it just a minute ago. D-Wash, unfortunately, is no longer a part of the Phoenix Suns. The Suns chose to cut him and sign Saben Lee to a two-way contract. Saben had 10 days here with the Suns and made enough of an impression to earn himself this two-way contract. So unfortunate for D-Wash. We hope that he gets another opportunity somewhere else because he's a really good young player. He just needs somebody who is willing to help develop and grow his game. But I also understand that Saben Lee came in here and contributed in ways that Monty and James Jones were looking for this team.
Well, yeah. I mean, with campaign out, you need a ball handler that can go out there and help that second unit out at times. So I think that was why this happened. There was some confusion, and let me walk everybody through this, that since Saben Lee replaced Dwayne Washington Jr. on the
Active
two-way
Yeah.
on the two-way deal, it used to be where the guy who was coming in who replaced another guy on the two-way could only play the remainder of the 50 games that were left. So he would have only been able to play, I think it was about 10 games because Dwayne Washington Jr. was active for 40. That's no longer the case. So Saben Lee now will be able to get, it's like, I think it's 20 games because we're about 40%
Like prorated
left in the
almost.
season, so it's prorated to about 40%. So you can be on the active roster for about 20 games, and then he'd have to be made a full contract.
So the one interesting thing about this move is that obviously the Suns do have that 15th roster spot available. They could have used that roster spot,
Mhm.
but to me, the idea that they didn't is because they're keeping their options open ahead of the trade deadline, meaning that you might be getting 2 players back for sending one out or something of that
Yeah.
sort, needing to keep their options open there.
For sure. I mean, you want that flexibility just in case. And so this is the way to do it. And I mean, I don't fault the organization for doing this. I don't listen. I think Saban's been a good player. I think he's filled the role that was required of him. I don't necessarily think that, if they make a move to bring in another point guard, will he see minutes? Probably not. I do. He's better than Elfrid Payton, but he does give me Elfrid Payton vibes where he's good on defense and he's just okay everywhere else.
Yeah, but I mean, the difference was Elfrid was a veteran that you signed. This is a two-way guy. I'm fine with
Sure.
Saban being there as your safety net right now. We've seen this though. Last year they kept that 15th spot open too, and guess what? They did jack squat at the deadline, and then
that's
they just
okay.
turned Ish into the 15th.
And that's
roster
okay.
spot.
I wasn't mad.
There's nothing
I
wrong
was
with
happy
that.
for Ish.
Yes, there is.
No, what do you,
making a move.
I don't understand.
There's something.
I don't understand this theory that like anybody is a good body. Like why? Like why not go with the guys that are in the like? Who are you going to get to fill that 15th spot at the end of the bench?
I'm saying if you didn't make a trade to utilize that to bring in a 2-for-1 or whatever, which James Jones has talked about. That's why he keeps that 15th roster spot open, so they have flexibility in a trade to take a second guy they might want if you're making a deal, or if it's 2 for 3, whatever the case may be. My complaint was not making a deal last year and saying, oh, that's why we kept the spot, but never making a deal. They can't afford to do that going into this trade deadline. They have to make moves.
Well, I get that, but I also like the fact that, listen, if there's nothing, don't do something just to do something, right? Like, okay, well, hey, if we're going to trade for, let's just say we wanted to trade for, why can't I not think of it? DeMar DeRozan. I don't give a shit if they want to throw me the 15th other guy on the end of the bench just to throw on there. I'm not saying, I know what you're saying, like in terms, it doesn't necessarily have to be a scrub, but like, if there's not a move to be made, then that's fine too. Like that's okay.
I agree with don't just use the 15th roster spot to use the 15th roster spot. My point is, you always hear James Jones say they want that flexibility for trade options, and I'm saying just make a trade already. All right.
Yeah.
I'm also a little bit concerned. Like there's a small part of me that is concerned that campaign, like a part of this move was because campaign is out more for longer than maybe what we anticipated, because we haven't heard jack about campaign's injury.
Go ahead.
I'm going to put on the tinfoil hat. I don't think we hear anything about campaign until after the trade deadline. And I have a very weird feeling that it ain't going to be very good. I think they're trying to make it where they don't seem desperate at any position to try to make a deal. But it is very odd that it's been very radio silent. And the only thing we really heard was we don't want him to push too hard, basically.
Right.
I kind of feel like, listen, like I get what you're saying about Saban Lee, but if let's just say campaign doesn't come back for a couple months, Saban Lee ain't going to fill those roles when we get to the playoffs.
No,
like they're going to have to get a different point guard.
But you have to make the decision on Saban Lee because his 10 days were up, and that was the end of it. And it was either you let him go and somebody else potentially pick him up, or you stick with what you have in D-Wash. They made the decision to keep Saban Lee, and even if it's just keeping Saban to get you through the trade deadline, which is still 8-9 days away, you still need somebody who can back up CP3.
Somebody is what you mean. That's
D-Wash with somebody.
No, look,
I'm just saying
that we used to know. Somebody.
All right, and then lastly, before this game tips off, we did get a little nugget from James Jones. He talked about the trade deadline on Arizona Sports Today, and it was interesting.
So we can use forward help. We can use scoring. We can always use more, interior defense. So, but we'll see what shakes out over the next week. I expect some interesting names to be flown around. I expect a lot of players to come into focus, and we'll just see what we can get done.
To me, the interesting names was what struck me there. And right before this, after the question was asked, there's like 10 seconds of him kind of hemming and hawing. And I don't know if that was, how do I say something without saying something or what? But to me, is there some name we just don't see that may be in discussions right now, or multiple names around the league that are in discussions that we could find interesting that get moved and potentially to the Suns?
Just give me DeMar DeRozan. I don't care. Just give me DeMar DeRozan. That's all I want. I don't want Siakam. I don't want any of the Toronto Raptors, to be honest with you. I don't like any of them. I don't like any single one of them for what you would have to give up. I don't like them all. I don't like any of them. Unless you can get Fred VanVleet on the cheap, but you're not going to be able to do that because of his salary and his salary demands. Like, I just don't see it. They're going to have to – James Jones is going to have to pull a miracle out of his ass to get Jay Crowder out of here maybe some draft capital, and get somebody of substantial value back. And I just don't think it's going to happen.
Are you ready to deal 3 first-round picks, salary, and some young player, a Cam Johnson, to get DeMar DeRozan? Because that price ain't going to be cheap. You're gonna have to belly up to the bar and pay a decent price to get him.
Yeah.
I don't know. This made me. I don't know if this is wishful thinking or I'm just trying to find a positive in the situation. This made me feel a little bit better.
A little bit.
Like if he's saying if this is true, which I'm going to take his words for face value. If this is true, that makes me feel better because 99% of the names that have been floated around being connected to the Suns, we're all like,
Well,
at least for the cost.
At
least for the cost.
Yeah.
So if he's saying, you think he's saying that there's going to be some interesting names that come to the forefront, well, okay, I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still very apprehensive about where this is going to go. It's a prove me wrong kind of thing for me.
But at the end of the day, they still like the Suns are still a good team if all healthy, right? Like, so you don't necessarily need to sacrifice a bunch of capital and good players to get another player because you think, like, unless that player's Kevin Durant or something, like, you're just not going to move the needle enough with an OG Anunoby. Like, that's just not going to happen.
You have to make a move. I will pound the
But
table
why?
because you have $30+ million in expiring contracts that you are going to lose because you were an over the cap team.
You're going to pigeonhole
and then you're
yourself
hamstrung
into,
to not being able to add anybody except for the mid-level exception.
For the expiring contracts, I 1,000,000% agree. And I know that sometimes those expirings have to be attached to something of value going the other way. That's why I think the draft capital I'd rather sacrifice than, let's just say, a Cam Johnson or somebody like that. Because I don't want to sacrifice Cam Johnson or Mikal or DA right now because they're too young and they're too good. I'm sorry. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about DA. He's still too good. He's a top 10 center in this league. And damn it, the numbers prove it. I don't give a shit that he's in a funk. Mikal was in a funk, and everybody was talking about trading him too. There's no need for that either. Like, and now he's balling his ass off. Like, I just don't think making a move to make a move outside of the expiring contracts is the way to go, unless you get something significant in value.
I mean, I don't disagree with that, but you have to do something with the expirings and bring in somebody that you very well may want long-term or can flip again in the offseason. That is a must. If you do not do that as bare minimum, you have failed at this deadline.
That's gross negligence on James Jones' part if he doesn't do that.
Kyle T said, interesting names means players you've never heard of. Don't put that bad juju out into the world, Kyle.
You're like, oh, shit, we got Christian Coloco. Like,
Kyle, you take that back right now. All right, guys, this game is about to tip off. Thank you all for joining us for the pregame show. Don't forget to meet us right back here after the game wraps up. Bye.
PHNX.
Hey yo, my lifestyle is retro. Tell the Phoenix Metro. Megas in control and he ain't never gonna let go. PHNX though, Lindsey Gerald.